Hi guys, this is Alex here and welcome to part 1 of these extra features. Yeah, in this episode I'm going to show you a couple of tips, tricks and techniques I've used to achieve really cool sounding ambiences, pads, drones and things like that through sound design. I've actually taken the original source of a guitar, kind of experimented with a whole load of different tricks on it, things like experimenting with the whammy bar and kind of like a whole load of effects, reverb and distortion and things like that in the guitar pedals here, and literally taking that initial source and completely manipulating it, completely changing it, processing it all through sound design to create really unique sounding textures. Cool, so just jumping straight into it, the first one which I want to show you is a really cool sounding, quite metallic sounding sound designy droney thing which sounds really cool. So basically I started off with, I'm just going to turn off all these audio inserts and sends here, with this sound here. It's like a guitar feedback sound running through a couple of overdrives and things like that, and just kind of experimenting with harmonics, feedback and kind of all that sort of stuff. So here's the sound that I chopped up. And from there I experimented with a couple of techniques, but the first thing I did was take it into this this sampler track in Cubase, which I love, by the way. I think it's great, and obviously pitched it down a little bit first, but also apply a pitch envelope. Now I love working with pitch envelopes and things like that on synths and samplers, things like that. I think it really changes and enhances the whole sound. So yes, I incorporated a pitch envelope here, which sounds a bit like this. And haven't done much, just literally pitch it down, have a little bit of glide there. That hasn't made a huge difference, but just a little bit. And just the pitch envelope, that's obviously creating that main change in between the original sound and that sound right now. But then I just did a lot of manipulating and processing and things like that. So the first thing I did was apply the primal tap. The delay from Soundtoy is really cool, creative, short kind of delays that I really like, and I really like this resonate function. I think it sounds amazing. I brought it down in the mix a little bit because it was a little bit intense at first, but I just really like kind of the nuances that it gives. It just sounds like, obviously it resonates, like it says, but for this particular sound it gave it just a little bit more aggression, which I quite liked. So just with that on, it sounded like this. Just very subtle, but sounded cool. Crystallizer. So with this particular patch, I just took a slightly lower octave on it, so pitched it down. Obviously, not that much of the delay on here or recycle. Brought down the mix a little bit, so it's literally kind of just acting as an octave, really. So this is how that sounds. Gives it a little bit of beef, a little bit of low end, and the decapitator, which is absolutely amazing. I love it. And this sounds like this, just giving it a bit of saturation, a bit of grit, a bit of dirt, and things like that. Really bringing out the harmonic distortion in there. So in terms of the sends, I've literally just sent it to a reverb on pre-fader, so I've whacked down the actual fader quite a bit. Well, not just a little bit, but so I've got this reverb going to a, where is it? UAD EMT 140 plate reverb. I love this reverb so much. I use it for anything, whether it's sound design, music, acoustic instruments, electronic instruments. I always like to try and use this reverb or a couple of other reverbs, but my main go-to reverb is definitely this one. I think it sounds incredible. But here's how this sounds. So yeah, that was the kind of main, the first sound designy part that you hear in this Silent Witness rescore. So the next one, which I'm going to show you, is pretty similar in terms of the processing, but the actual sound that it yields is a little bit different. So for example, I'll show you what I've done. So I've taken this initial sound, just a note from a guitar, but it's a note, but with a little bit of whammy bar action and just just bending the neck a little bit, just making it slightly weird and atonal from the off. So that was the initial sound that I recorded, and then from there I went back into Cubase's sampler track, pitched it down a little bit, and then also messed the filtering here. So I've actually got quite a substantial high pass filter at 600 Hertz. So already there's quite a lot of processing on it. Worked up the resonance a little bit, and also the drive as well. Not huge amounts of difference, but it's those subtle things that kind of do make a difference. So yeah, here's how that one sounds like. I've also applied a pitch envelope on it as well. I think pitch envelopes for me in this particular score were so useful and so important to define quite a weird atonally experimental sound, and I just kind of just love experimenting with these anyway. But yeah, so I also have a pitch envelope on this as well, which sounds like this. Yeah, so it's very quiet, but it does not really resemble the last note. So in terms of processing on the inserts, it's very similar to the first one. Have primal tap on the resonate function around about the same mix level as well, which just gives it a little bit more. And then back on to crystallizer, you're giving a slightly lower octave in there. Sorry about this. And then the decapitator, which gives just a little bit of grit and dirt. So, and then of course you're sending it on pre-fader to the reverb. So that is the second part of the sound design stuff I utilise from that guitar. Yeah, and the final part of the guitar sound design that I utilised in the score was in conjunction with that second one. I basically took this initial sound from the guitar. So that, I believe, was a pick slide just going down from the bridge onto the neck, literally something very simple. And then yeah, as I have done over these past two, I've put it into the Cubase sampler track, had a little bit of a low pass filter, about 5k, increased the resonance a tiny bit, and didn't really have much drive because it was already distorted as hell and already had quite a lot of aggression to the sound. So yeah, so I left that drive function. I did apply a pitch envelope, went a little bit more crazy experimental on this one, just kind of adjusting the ADSR of the envelope, seeing what I could do, experimenting and things like that, and also a VCA envelope as well, so just adjusting the envelope of the whole sound. Quite long release time of 3 seconds, so combined with that reverb is going to give a really big tail, which is going to sound really cool. So the pitch envelope sound sounds like this. And then I just went quite mad on the inserts. I just literally experimented with a whole load of things, but also carefully experimented. So I didn't just want to put on plugins all the time just to see what it did, but I also wanted to go quite experimental in it. So first thing I did was pitch it down nearly an octave using the Waves sound shifter pitch, which sounds really cool. And then alongside that, I gave the low air from Waves just to kind of give a little bit more low end and sub. Not much, it's quite subtle, but it sounds cool. And then from there, the Filter Freak from Sound Toys, just giving quite crazy LFO modulation, but as you can see, I've put the mix right down because obviously it was quite crazy, but it just gives that really subtle modulation that I wanted. So that's very subtle, and then I went to the meta flanger from Waves just to kind of give it even more otherworldliness and weirdness. Often the modulation bar, I often stop it at a certain place because there's a part in the infinite impulse response that I like. and not a specific place, but like I like to kind of hold it in one place because it kind of slightly affects the timbre of the sound and sounds really cool. So I've held it in that specific place, and here's how that sounds. I added a tiny bit of ring modulator, not much, very subtle again. And then pitched it down almost like another octave to kind of almost not resemble what it initially was at all. So went quite crazy on those inserts, and then I sent it to like a whole load of reverbs. I kind of wanted to, for this particular sound, I wanted to give it quite a harsh reflected reverb, so something like a bathroom or a tiled room or something like that. So I sent it to an IR from Waves, the IR1 full stereo, which sounds really cool. This is a bathroom in the center. I didn't do much EQ on this particular one. I wanted to kind of keep the harshness there, so with the IR on. A small bit of delay from Echo Boy. And then to the UAD reverb. So that includes everything that I did in terms of sound design, ambiences and drones in this particular rescore. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next episode where I'll be talking through my top 5 favourite scores of all time.